What's up, Tyree?
How you doing, man?
Silence the violence! Silence the violence!
Hey, how y'all ladies doing? Good to see you.
Silence the violence! Silence the violence! Silence the violence! Silence the violence! Silence the violence!
Hey, Pat. You good?
I've been talking to Josh.
What's up, Josh? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is cool.
Yes.
We need you at the table. You know that. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
I see you all the time, man.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sweetie.
How are you, sir?
That's good. How you doing?
Good. Sam's wife.
Hey, Janet.
Tyree, I want you to meet my son.
How you doing,
This is
sir?
Lucas Godin. This is Tyree.
Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you, Lucas. Good to see you out here, man.
Yeah.
How old are you? 9. 9? You look like you're 12.
He's tall. We're getting tall now.
Excuse me, let me get by you. Excuse me, let me get by you. Huh? Excuse me, sister.
Now, first things first, I saw some of you on Ash when we passed Providence. It got rough on you. It got rough on you. But look, everyone is here and we made it. We made it to our destination. We can make it to our destination of Columbia being a city of peace. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence.
Yeah!
Silence the violence. 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 Silence the thank God for you being here.
Right.
But we need you to connect so that moving forward we don't lose the momentum of what we have here today. So if you have not registered, please, everyone, register. There will be a registration table. Listen, if you have a phone and you have not friended us on Facebook, tagged us on Facebook, liked us on Facebook, do it now. It's Columbia Community Nonviolence Initiative. I know I said that fast. For some of us, let me slow it down. Community Nonviolence Initiative, CCNVI. Columbia Community Nonviolence Initiative. And if you don't work Facebook, but you work Twitter, it's at STV Columbia. At STV Columbia. You have to follow us. You have to find out what's going on after today. Today is going to be a power-packed day.
Yes.
But if we all continue to be involved, it will pale in comparison to what we do moving forward in silencing the violence. So please, like us, tag us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, register so we can send you emails of what's coming next and where you can get involved. We'll blast you text messages if that's the way you communicate. But it's important for you to join in and not just be here for a walk.
That's right.
This is not a one-day thing. It is the way we want to live here in Columbia, Missouri. And now you know this is the show me state. So you say you want to silence the violence, you've got to show me. You've got to show me. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence.
Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence.
Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence. Silence the violence.
I want you to take a minute and just look around. Just take a minute and just look around. This is exactly what a community looks like.
Yes.
Our community can only be as great as each individual, as great as each family, and we're on a great start to doing great things in Columbia.
Right, right.
Give yourself one more hand. Now listen, we have a good problem.
On how you can be involved, where we can volunteer, and where we can continue to build momentum in the city of Columbia and for the city of Columbia. All right, so there's a couple of things. If you are a forum panelist, please move to the front, come to the front table right now, please. If you are a forum panelist, not if you desire to be one, but if you were designated one before today. Okay, will the two designated Max Scholar, okay, that's one. Will the other designated Max Scholar please come to the front? Deja Alexander. Paging Deja Alexander. Will someone send Deja a text? I was going to say hit her up on Twitter. Okay. Listen, I know I talked about registering, but if you did not register, the table for registration is to your right, my left, right over here for registration. Once we are done here, there are tons of organizations that have set up for all of us on the inside. These organizations are here because they are looking for people to employ. These organizations are here because they want you to know about the structured activities that are going on here in Columbia. These organizations are here as empowerment organizations, that some of them are to help you start your own business. Some of them are to provide you with options if you are a teenager or a preteen or a parent, an option, structured options for activities this summer. Some of them are organizations that just are here to say, we are here to support you in any way that we can. Some of them are educational organizations. So once we are done here, please go inside and visit the booths. They're MoDOT, Youth Empowerment Zone, the Division of Youth Services, Missouri Alliance for Children and Families, Phoenix Programs, Pathways, CMCA at the Career Center, Power Players, Urban Empowerment, PedNet, Fun City, the I Am Plan, United Community Cathedral, Granny's House, Love Inc., True North, and For His Glory Dance Ministry. I think in all of those 17 organizations that all of us find ourselves somewhere in there. So once we are done here, please proceed to the gymnasium so that you can check out all of the opportunities that exist for us as Columbians.
Yeah.
Decades. Give it up for Miss Wynna Faye.
Good morning. I'm fine. I can see everybody, and everybody can see me. We want to welcome you to the Douglas community, but we want you to know that the problem is not in Douglas. It's all over Columbia, and that's what we need to recognize. Instead of saying it's always in Douglas Park, it's in your neighborhood now. It's not just in my neighborhood, and so we have to be responsible to the total community and not just one little area. I want to recognize some of our dignitaries that we have here today. The first person I look out and see the mayor, Mayor McDavid. I want to thank you for being with us today. My friend, Chief Burton at the police department, the man who's trying to make things right, bring it back like it's supposed to be. We want to recognize Chris Kelly, who's also a friend of mine, who's been in the Columbia community a long time and worked with the police department. And we're going to see him a lot. He's over this area. So we want to make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to do and that we helping him. We want to recognize the NAACP. All right. We want to thank them for being with us this morning. And I think I saw the superintendent of schools. Stand up there. I want everybody to know who you are. Chris Burchell. Okay. Want to say hello to the Douglas Neighborhood Association, who's taking a picture of me right now. I'm not sure what he's going to do with it, but he's taking it. Want to recognize anybody else out there? Did I miss anybody? Don't do you? Okay. Anybody else? I want to make sure I get everybody because we don't want her. Oh, the NAACP vice president's over there. I didn't recognize her. Yeah, Pam. Did I get everybody? I don't want to miss anybody. We got the panel here. We'll get them in a minute. Is Michael Trapp here? Because I don't know him. Is he here? Any of the city council people here? You know what? Not. He was here. Michael Trapp was here, so we appreciate him being a part of the march. He may have had something else to do. Reverend Lester. Reverend Lester has kind of been our facilitator and keeping us going and making sure things were right. Stand up. Don't be up here trying to act shy. Alameda is with us. Alameda's our ex-second ward council person. First ward council person. And we need to work on that again. That's all I'm going to say to that right now. We've got a vision. Oh,
we got a sound check.
Let us cut me off. They got time for this.
I didn't do it.
Who did it?
Mic on. Your fingers.
Check. Okay, we just get another one if that one don't work. I want to read to you the vision of the community today. The vision of Columbia Community Nonviolence Initiative. To bring the Columbia community together and strategize initiatives to remove violence and focus on community unity. I'm going to read that part again. And focus on community unity and healing through education, employment, and empowerment. That's the vision of this group. Yeah, I don't think you can come up with a better vision. Remember the expo on the inside will be going on from 1 to 4. We'll be feeding from 12:30 to 1, and we want to try to get people to move pretty quick. So you can see we got a overflow, and we want to make sure that everybody gets in, everybody gets fed, and that everybody gets at least a hot dog. If we don't have 2 for you, we at least have 1. That'll hold you till you get home. At this point, we're going to have a prayer by Elder Robert Pryor. Where is he? And we got some prayers here if he's not here. He's here. Is he behind me somewhere? Elder Robert Pryor. We can get there. We got Reverend sitting right next to me.
If everyone will bow their heads. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you for this gathering of people, God, who come together with one mind to stop the violence. So I ask that, Lord, right now that you will come and be in the midst of us, that we may do some things and say some things that will impact this community for the better. And these blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
We now have a moment of silence for the victim, Almeida. Get up. Come on up here. Are the families here of some of the victims that have been involved in problems?
We come up front. Come on up front.
Come on up this way.
If you've been impacted by the violence and your loved one is not here anymore, we ask you to come up front. Let them know that we won't forget them. We won't forget those families that have lost their loved ones.
Stay right here. Come right here. That everybody can see.
Check. Are there any more families? No, honey. Okay. This will be a moment of silence for that family. I'd like to thank you all for coming up and representing your loved one.
This time we'll have the mayor. Mayor McDavid.
Thank you, Wynna Faye. It's an amazing event.
You know, we talk about Columbia being an amazing community. This is more about Columbia, the family. Family is closer than a community. This is about collectively us being collective parents of these kids. We're collectively parents. These are our sons and daughters. Each and every one of them is a son and daughter to each of us. We buried 2 of our 17-year-old sons. They're our sons, each and every one of us. They belong to each of us. We're not supposed to bury our children. We're not supposed to bury our grandchildren. They're supposed to bury us. So this is wrong. I am so happy to see this community come out and say this cannot go on. You know, I delivered a lot of babies over the years. I saw a lot of new moms look at their new babies, and they all saw the same thing. It didn't matter whether they were rich or poor. They saw love, they saw hope, they saw the future. And 2 of these 17-year-olds, these 2 17-year-olds had moms who saw that 17 years ago. And their lives, their hearts were devastated. Well, they're our sons too, and likewise, we're devastated. The American dream is passing hope and opportunity on to our children. We want them to have more than we had. We do not want to bury them. We want them to have education. We want them to have employment. We want family. We want community. We want neighbors. We want them engaged because they all need direction. They all need role models. I'm looking at Columbia's role models right here. They all need every one of you guys. They all need that. Kids go their own way. Always have. The Broadway play, West Side Story, came out in 1957. That's 55 years ago. There was a gang of Puerto Ricans, a gang of Caucasians, and death was the result. That's what kids do without the role model, without the direction, without the schools, without the churches, without the families, without the moms and dads, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters. They need us. They're our children. They need us. We have to make sure that our sons and daughters can live a world free of violence and live in a world full of opportunity. So the violence ends and hope and opportunity begins.
At this time, we'll turn it over to Bishop Woods.
Got it.
Testing. Once again, good afternoon to everybody. I want you to give yourselves another hand for your participation in today's event. I am overly excited about the march, overly excited about the forum, overly excited about the expo and the other activities happening in the park this afternoon. And it is definitely my privilege and my pleasure to introduce to all of you all today, Mr. Jeff Johnson. Jeff Johnson is an award-winning investigative journalist, social activist, political commentator, and author who has established himself as an authentic voice for change and a trailblazing social entrepreneur. He is originally known as BET's Cousin Jeff. Jeff Johnson has parlayed his commitment to making the world a better place in a diverse career, shedding light on the issues that matter the most. He has spent the last decade merging the worlds of politics and popular culture, working as senior advisor for media and youth outreach for the people for the American Way, as national director of the Youth and College Division of the NAACP, and as the vice president of Russell Simmons Hip Hop Summit Action Network. He regularly contributes commentary about issues related to race, politics, popular culture, and socioeconomics for news broadcasts and publications, and is a regular contributor to MSNBC and the White House correspondent for the for the griot. Griot. Columbia, please join me in welcoming Mr. Jeff Johnson to our city.
Thank you, Bishop, and thank you to everyone that's here. I'm having a challenge because I don't want to give a speech because I don't think that now is the time for speeches. I think now is the time for work. And too often at these points in time, we have people that just want to come and talk and rile us up and make us excited but not give us any direction. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of that. I'm tired of losing our sons and our daughters, and I'm tired of seeing our children not educated properly, and I'm tired of us seeing us lose a generation, and I'm tired of seeing babies having babies who already came from babies that didn't know how to take care of babies, and I'm tired of seeing us not have proper education and employment, and I'm tired of us blaming each other for not having it. I'm tired of us pointing the finger at people that are also that lack resources. I'm tired of us for blaming institutions that are supposed to be held accountable by us. I'm tired of us getting up and giving speech after speech after speech that motivates us to a state of euphoric inactivity where we jump up and down and do the same thing over and over again and absolutely nothing changes. I'm a father, and the other day, you know how older siblings terrorize younger siblings. And I have a daughter, Madison, who will be 13 this week. Who loves her brother, but finds strategic moments to terrorize him, to remind him who's boss. And she was hitting him. And he knows under the best of circumstances, I don't hit my sister back. But she kept hitting him. And when I came in the room, he said, "Dad, Madison keeps hitting me." And I said, Madison looked at me and said, "Dad, I stopped." And Miles looked at her and said, "Madison, it's not about what you're not doing, what you stopped doing. It's about what you won't do. I don't care if you stop hitting me. I want you to treat me right. I don't care if you stop hitting me. You're supposed to love me." And then he's over dramatizing. It goes, to an Academy Award nomination. But the point is a good one. We keep talking about stopping the violence. We keep talking about silencing the violence, but we don't start talking about what we're going to do. We keep talking about through candlelight visuals and prayer services what we want to not happen. But we're not talking about in many cases what we're committed to doing. We talk about visions that we have and missions that we have, but we don't talk about the strategy that makes that vision real. And so the question that I have for you today, because the reality is I don't live here. I get on a plane this evening and go back to Baltimore, Maryland, a city with its own issues. But you're left here to be able to do the hard work day in and day out that determines what Columbia looks like, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, but for the next generation. And so the question is, what will the strategy be? And so as you begin to start talking with a panel of people who I hope and I believe are dedicated to being on the ground level of doing the work, as I see elders around here who have been in this community doing the work, as you have a police chief and a mayor and a superintendent who at least showed up when so many times politicians just want to give a statement and never show their faces. You've got a community of people here who are committed, hopefully, to doing the work. But if you want to do the work, there are a couple of things that have to happen. First and foremost, you've got to be courageous. You've got to be courageous. What does that mean? Stop being punks. And let me quantify what that means. Because there are varying levels of punctitude that's happening within so many of our, that's a word, look it up, in our communities. Being a punk, for those of you that are disconnected from hip-hop colloquialism, simply means that you aren't willing to do what you are supposed to do. And when I look around our community, not just in Columbia, but in Cleveland and in Baltimore and in New York and in Atlanta, I see people constantly that have been charged with doing something that they are not courageous enough to do. And so I see churches that proclaim to preach and praise a God that's able to do absolutely anything but fail, but they're afraid to go beyond the four walls of the church to engage a community that's right outside of it and following the Great Commission that says, go ye therefore and preach and teach the gospel. But real ministry is not about creating the most elaborate, comfortable sanctuary. The sanctuary should actually be the most uncomfortable place, because you should be so uncomfortable in the sanctuary that you take your behinds out into the world and do the ministry work that, y'all not with me, I'm sorry. You've got to be courageous enough to develop ministry that's about transformation, not about tithes and offerings. About a ministry that's about change, not just about getting press. That's a ministry that's about transformation and not just about numbers. You don't need 1,000 people that belong to your church to be able to create change. You just need a couple of people that believe that God put something in me that was so unbelievably important and powerful that if I just submit to his will and walk out on faith, that something would happen. Are we courageous enough to do what makes us uncomfortable? Go to the places that make us uncomfortable and talk to people that normally would make us uncomfortable and say the things that are traditionally politically incorrect but need to be said, and challenge the people that other people won't challenge, and love the people that other people are afraid to love, and embrace the people that others are afraid to embrace. Work with people that normally we wouldn't work with before, and build things that normally we only talk about. Are you courageous enough to even begin this process? Because the reality is, people talk a good game, but can you walk it? See, there are folks that's going to say a whole lot of stuff today while a lot of people are around. They're going to say a lot of stuff tomorrow when the news comes. They're going to get up in church tomorrow and talk about how they was there. But will they be there on Wednesday? Will they be there on Friday? Will they be there next Monday when no press is there? Will they be there 2 weeks from now when ain't nobody talking about these babies that died anymore? Will they be there 3 months from now when all the other people went back to doing what they normally did? See, this work isn't easy. It's hard. And it takes those that are willing to know in their heart of hearts that it's not about a position, it's not about a title, it's not about what organization you're a member of or how much money you have. It's not about how many awards you've received, and it's not about how many times you've been in the paper. It's, are you courageous enough to walk out of your door in the morning and commit to it? The second thing, are you willing to be trained? Because one of the areas that not just movements at the local level, but I'll tell you, movements at the national level aren't working because you have passionate people that don't know what they're doing. See, I reward passion. Passion is fantastic. It's great if you want to make change, and it's great if you're committed, and it's even great if you gangster, but nothing is more detrimental than somebody gangster with no skills. Then you become a detriment. Because you're courageous enough to step in front of something that you don't know how to fight. Somewhere in the Bible there was a story about David and Goliath. And many of us like to talk about how we are the David and the institutions or the violence that we're fighting is Goliath. That the school issues that we're fighting and the unemployment and the economy are the Goliath. And that we got the ability to go out and slay this giant. But we don't talk a lot of times about David. About the fact that David killed Goliath not just because he was a giant killer. David killed Goliath because he took the skills that he learned when nobody was watching to be able to kill a giant. See, he killed a lion and a bear in private so that he could kill a giant in public. Some of us ain't fought no hamster and are afraid of gerbils and want to fight a giant in public. Beloved brothers and sisters, we have got to train ourselves to be able to do the work that we do. And how do we do that? How many churches exist in this community? A lot. And how many of them are closed at least 3 days a week? A lot. That's not a demonization against those churches. The point is that oftentimes we cry about the resources we don't have as opposed to effectively using the ones that we do. If you've got churches that are closed, you don't need to build a community center. You got one. The question is, how do you effectively use it to the benefit of your community? So pick 3 churches that are willing to open their doors on the days that they don't have Bible study, that they don't have choir rehearsal, and that they don't have church. Then don't abuse them, but say, look, let us pass you a little bit of money to pay for them lights that you got to keep on. And then how can you find volunteers to fill the churches on those nights to do the things that you need to do? Example, if you got to be able to have a place that these babies can go for tutoring and mentoring, you don't have a boys and girls club, or you don't have a community center where they can go to, open up 2 churches that agree to be able to open their doors. Pay the couple of dollars that it takes to keep the lights on. How many in this, right in this audience, how many educators or retired educators would love to be able to put their hands on some babies at night to be able to help them learn math and English and science? You got people here already. Get volunteers to be in those places. How many people in here have some kind of skill around finances? How many? They would be willing to volunteer their time. Open up 2 other churches and teach financial literacy. How many people in here have done hardcore organizing and mobilization somewhere, whether it's around voting or whether it's around homelessness? Open the doors and teach those community members that want to be real activists, partner with your NAACP and other organizations, and train them hardcore on how to do this work. Train them about the psychology that comes behind it, about social justice is not like social service. See, because a lot of us have social justice missions, but social service hearts. What am I saying? Social service is as necessary as social justice. But social service takes a different kind of work. If somebody's hungry, then you begin to collect food for them to be able to eat. They come to the place to be able to get the food, and then they leave and come back 2 weeks later still hungry. Now, you met an immediate need because those folks needed to be fed right then. But somebody's got to simultaneously be fighting the conditions that are keeping those folks in a place where they don't have enough resources, don't have employment, don't have skills to be able to earn a job and feed themselves. See, social justice is hard because it takes day in and day out struggle to be able to engage and work with city council and mayors and police chiefs when they don't want to come. Right? Because mayors and city council and police chiefs got agendas too. And those agendas sometimes don't mix with your agenda. That don't make them inherently bad. And we got to get to the point where we understand that sometimes those different agendas don't demonize anybody. It means that we've got to do the hardcore community engagement work that says when you got something that I don't agree with and I've got something that you don't agree with, have we been able to create the space where we can sit down at the table and talk about these issues where I, at least before I roll on you, feel like you listened to what I had to say. See, I'm an activist. I ain't afraid to roll on nobody. Because at the end of the day, as a citizen, I understand what my rights are by paying taxes. But that doesn't mean that I have to have an adversarial relationship with the people that are doing the work in the city, especially if they're proving that they want to be part of the solution. Because I can tell you how many cities I go to where mayors and police chiefs and superintendents, I don't know nothing about them. I never met y'all. I think you're good people. I think you showed up would mean something, but I can't attest to your character. I can't attest to the work that you've done. What I can attest to is that when others haven't showed up, you did. And so that's at least a starting point to be able to raise your agenda to the next level. Train people to do what you want them to do. And then last but not least, can you build teams? And can you build real teams that can win? The NBA championships are getting ready to start. And I don't care who you vote for or what you want. I'm a Lakers fan. Don't hate me. But I know I got a problem sometimes with the front office of the teams that I like, because I'm wondering, why did you trade this person and why did you keep this person? I wonder that because at the end of the day, whether I like a player or not is not the issue. I want a player on the court that can take me to a championship. We have too many organizations and too many movements that got people on the court that can't play ball. You've got to build teams of people that can win. That doesn't mean you demonize people that can't play. That doesn't mean that you hate on people that can't shoot. That doesn't mean you excommunicate yourself from people that can't dribble. It means put them in camp. Put them in training until they have the ability to play at prime time. Team building is so essential because none of us can do all of this by ourselves. And no matter how many members you have in your organization, oftentimes there's things that need to be done with somebody else's skill set that if you don't bring them to the table, you're struggling to do something that you were never called to do. Instead of communicating with those that have the ability to do it. How many organizations do y'all know of that are struggling financially but don't have nobody that knows finances connected to the group? I'm just saying. Call an accountant. It's not that hard. But in this work you're talking about reducing violence. The only way you reduce violence is by creating opportunity. The only way you reduce violence is by increasing education. The only way you reduce violence is by increasing love. See, I find it amazing at times where we will demonize youngins that's wilding out when they learn to wild out from us. Raise a child in the way that he should go so that when he grows old he won't depart from it. They might wild out different, but they learn how to talk about people from watching us talk about people. They learn backbiting from watching us backbite. They learn to fight in the street because they watch us fight at family reunions and at the church. And then in so many cases, they have to create families outside of the community because the community hasn't treated them like family. Now, I don't care what you say about gangs. I don't care what you say about youngins on the street. Far often than not, they are more organized than most of the people in the community. I'm not saying that to demonize anybody. I'm saying that to say the youngins that I see on the street, more often than not, are more committed to each other on a negative side than some of the people I see in organizations on a positive side. I'm saying they've got the character, they just don't have the morality. They've got the commitment, they just haven't been given the love oftentimes. They've got the skill set, they oftentimes just haven't been given an opportunity to use it in a place that takes them in the right direction and not the wrong one. So by demonizing these babies in the name of saying we want to stop violence, we are excommunicating ourselves from the very people that have the power to end it. These babies are the ones. But if we don't have them here, if we don't find a way to go and talk with them, I don't know anybody that doesn't want to be loved. I don't. I know some that oftentimes don't know what it really looks like. And I know some whose love has been so twisted that they believe it's manifest in ways that are negative. But whose responsibility is it to show what love looks like if it's not the community's responsibility? Love these children. Those you think are on the right path and those you think are on the wrong. Even as you challenge, hold accountable, and condemn behavior that you don't believe is appropriate, don't let that condemnation of behavior be equated to, I don't love you. Anybody that works in the street knows youngins that's just looking for a way to get out. But so often we push them further in. I hope that the strategies that you begin to develop through this panel, through the elders that are here, through the elected officials, through the preachers and the pastors, through the regular old community folk and family members, and even these babies, that teaches us how to be more courageous and walk in it, that trains us in the places to be able to fortify skills that we already have and provide new skills that didn't exist. To be able to create partnerships between those that traditionally never would have even talked to each other. And that pushes love. Because you ain't even got to like somebody to love them. I love black people. I don't always like them. I got some cousins that every now and again I wish had a different last name. But I love them. And the love I have for them allows me to work with them even when I don't like them. But if we don't love this community, we can't claim to serve it. And loving this community means loving every single member in it, even when they get on your nerves, even when they want something different than you do. What I hate about watching what's happening in national politics is you got people that claim to love America but don't work for it. And what makes me frustrated when I see local communities is people that claim to love the community, but they really only work for themselves. Can we work together to make this community better? I, as somebody who is a supporter of communities all over this country, am willing to do all I can to connect you to people in different parts of the country that I think are doing it the right way, showing models and best practices, showing pastor alliances that are working effectively if y'all don't have one, showing those that are doing peace work in a way that's about building and not just talking about reducing violence. Relationships are about how do you use people properly. But I know I'm not a member of this community. And so it really doesn't matter if you like what I've had to say or not. What matters is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your hands? What are you going to do with your heart? What are you going to do with your talents? What are you going to do with your resources? What are you going to do with that burning desire to make something happen? What are you going to do with your time? Because the answer to those questions will determine if this community, no matter what side of it you're on, truly begins to look the way that it needs to. And I would just say, as I take my seat, don't discount the youngest amongst you. Please don't disconnect them from this process. Because so often as we do this work, we often attempt to shield the babies from all that's going on, as opposed to instruct and train them through the process as it's happening. Begin to show these babies the kind of community that you don't want to see, and begin to instill them with the values and the vision of the kind of community that you want to create. Because if I know anything about being in the wilderness, normally those that lead in wilderness don't lead us into the promised land. But those that lead in wilderness prepare those that will lead us into the promised land. Moses was never confused about what his call was. I got to get these Negroes out the wilderness. But he also knew I got to prepare somebody that has the ability to lead, not when we're in the wilderness, but when we're in our promise. And I just ask that you would train these babies and instill them with vision and hope and character, that they would be able to see beyond just survival. And that they would be able to see beyond just making it, and see beyond us doing what we do to each other, to see what we can be. And if we've got a generation of young people that are pushing to create what we can be, they don't believe that where we are makes sense. What will you do?